Hello, my name is Terry Harrison. I'm going to show you how to paint an Irish landscape. I've chosen a mountain in the west of Ireland in County Mayo. It's called Mount Croagh-Patrick, and I've drawn the scene up first and I've put some masking fluid on some flowers in the foreground and some grasses using a ruling pen and some ripples in the water, and I'm going to start with the sky. With a large brush, I'm using the golden leaf brush. Wet the sky area with some clean water. Right, not too wet, you don't want any standing water. Some raw sienna, not too strong. Put in the light colour first. Wash the brush out. Then with some ultramarine, I start to paint in some blue, leaving the white for some clouds. Well, it's not the white, it's the raw sienna. And it goes up to the top of the painting, so you get these streaks of clouds coming from behind the mountain range out of the top of the painting. Then with a slightly darker colour, ultramarine and burnt umber, just drop that darker colour on the underside of these clouds. Bring that down to the mountain. Then just let the sky dry. With the large detail brush, we're going to start to paint in the mountains. I'm going to start with ultramarine with a touch of shadow. I'm just going to tone it down with a little bit of burnt sienna, so it makes it more of a grey colour. Start to paint in the hills, goes up, down, and along out of the painting. And before it dries, we use some raw sienna to clean the brush out. Some raw sienna, and just touch that into the top of the mountain there and bring that down. See how the paint is pushed away. It's this raw sienna, it's kind of a bit antisocial, doesn't like to mix with too many colours. You get this lovely hint of sunlight on the mountain. While that's drying off, we're going to put a wash of cobalt blue with some burnt sienna, so it's a very light grey colour. I'm going to put that colour over the mountain on the top, like that. Touch more blue. And bring this down. Now this is fairly light. This is going to be some scree that comes down the mountain, and it's quite distinctive on this particular mountain. Then you allow that to dry. Still with the large detail brush, I'm going to mix ultramarine with some burnt sienna. Just a touch of shadow, a touch of purple, and start to paint in the shaded part of the mountain. So this comes down, leave these like ribbons of texture coming down the mountain. Right out to the side, a little bit darker. and dark colour, so touch more burnt sienna into there. Then bring that down, touch of burnt sienna, so some warmer colours coming up into this mass of trees down at the bottom of the mountain. Then we have some warmer colours, so raw sienna, some burnt sienna. Now that's quite bright, so just keep that bright colour up there. Then with shadow and some ultramarine, bring that colour down into the first colour. So that blue tones the burnt sienna down, and it comes down towards the buildings. Straight line along the roof line. Just a touch of green, country olive. Just put that into the part of the mountain which is closer to you. Then allow that to dry. Then, using the foliage brush, some country olive and some raw sienna and a piece of paper, and we start to stipple some trees with the light colour first up to the building. To there. Then with the darker colour, this is country olive, maybe with a touch of burnt sienna, so it's a little bit stronger this time. And we have the sunlight coming in this direction, so the darker shade is on the left hand side. So just stipple. When it comes to the building, just mask off the roof line, then you can stipple along the edge like that. Then take the paper away, and you haven't got any paint on the building. Bring that up to the side. Darker colour, this is midnight green. Stipple along the edge of the paper. Change the colour, some raw sienna. Some trees here. So dark green, and stipple along the edge of the paper some dark, some raw sienna. When you get to the buildings, you could finish off the detail with a round brush. So paint around the buildings. So with the dark colour, drop that into the wet. Same thing there. Medium detail brush. Wash a light colour the front of the buildings. Some sunlit green. A bit more raw sienna. Bring it down to the shoreline. Then with a darker mix, burnt umber and some green, and run that along the shoreline. And just let that paint seep up into the raw sienna. Some burnt sienna, so it's quite a warm colour. Sunlit green. Burnt umber and country olive. And take that along the water's edge. And before we paint the water, we let that dry.